Is it possible to create great quality orchestral music by using free libraries such as Edirol Orchestra or Sonatina? Well, today I want to reply to that question by doing a quick comparison of this example I wrote from Lord of the Rings. I wrote it with the professional libraries first and then with Sonatina, which is a free orchestral library. This is how it sounds like with professional libraries. Now that's a very basic arrangement. It's not even that good in my orchestration is not so good. The melody is amazing because it's hour short, but I just kept this as raw and brutal and bad as possible to be at the entry level and show you how Sonatina compares to this on the entry level. And this is how it sounds like. So that's Sonatina, which is again a free library like Edirol. It's not that much different. And while, you can tell, wow, that's the same idea. It follows the same, long notes, short notes, whatever. So it sounds a bit similar. We are not even close in terms of quality. If you check out the brass from Arc 1, for example, compared to this, you notice, hey, this actually doesn't sound the same, And this is why I cringe whenever I get that question. Hey Alex, can you use Edirol Orchestra? Can you make tutorials about Edirol Orchestra? Why the hell should I do that? That's what I ask myself. I want you guys to understand one thing. So, as I say all the time, it's not the library that makes the composer. It's the composer's skills and his knowledge of arrangement, orchestration, melodies, harmonies, all those things I explain in my tutorials all the time that make it possible for a composer to write great quality music. Articulations, all those things, okay? If you have Hans Zimmer strings and Hans Zimmer percussion, but you don't know anything about these things, then you're never gonna get to a sound which is close to Hans Zimmer. So obviously having great quality libraries is not the end all be all. However, it is part of the job. Okay? Why? Well, I'm gonna explain you why. Basically, the idea of a professional library like Arc 1 compared to Edirol Orchestra or Sonatina is that Arc 1 was done by recording a real orchestra. So when you hear the brass here, all the nuances of a real brass section are there because this is a real brass section. It is sampled, which means that it's being recorded in many different ways and it's being reprogrammed to be playable with MIDI and to have many different parameters that give you the freedom to make it do whatever the hell you want it to do. But it's at the foundation a real brass section. For that reason, it will sound, real from the get-go. Compared to this, this is synthesized. This is a sound font. This is not real. This is not modeled after real recording. So understand, if you want to score, like if you want to score a AAA video game, or if your goal is to make music for trailers, music for films, if you want to get big with your music, understand this will never be accepted anywhere. Unless you're making like something retro or whatever. Like my advice for you is like, don't go broke for buying libraries, but actually, if you can actually say, hey, I'm not gonna have a beer tonight, so I can save those dollars to get, a library when it gets discounted. Like if you save dollars by not buying, I don't know, 10 beers, that's already $60, which can be a string library on discount on Black Friday, So that's an example, You have to start to think critically that way. You have to be focused on your goal, okay? Now, if I wanted to use a free library without spending, I wouldn't go for Edirol. I would go for freebies. Freebies are free versions of professional libraries you find on the websites of library developers, such as Performance Samples. They have this freebie called Angry Brass, which sounds pretty mind-blowing if you ask me. There's also Palette Primary Colors that has this freebie that contains strings, ensemble, brass, and woodwinds ensemble. And there's also like a percussive freebie, Stress of Sampling. I'm gonna leave a list of freebies down below in the description of this video. But basically, the good thing about these freebies is that they are taken from the professional libraries. Maybe there are just one patch, maybe they're just a few articulations, like in the case of Primary Colors here. But usually they will have the programming and the real sampling behind the real libraries from those developers. So it's like, using an actual professional library. Obviously, it's limited, but, it's better than nothing. The second thing I would recommend, if you are actually broke and you cannot really afford, because I understand, not anyone can say, hey, I'm going to spend $500 on Metropolis Arc 1. When I did that myself, I went broke for like a month. But Arc 1 for me, I spent all I had to buy it at that time. But because of it, I got a trader placement thanks to the Archwire that gave me way more money back than $500. So it was a good investment. I also invested on, my skills as a composer to get to the point where I can actually write music that can get placements. But anyway, the second thing I recommend, other than using freebies, is using Composer Cloud from East West. It's like it's this website where you can, for $30 a month, which is less than, again, 3 beers where I come from, or 4 beers, you can get access to the whole East West orchestra catalog, and those are great libraries to start from. So, better than Edirol or something else. If you want to use Edirol, the issue is not that, again, the instrument is bad, whatever, because you can actually tweak it a little bit. And that's what I did here. There's a few problems with the Sonatina, for example. I'm not sure about Edirol because I think it's discontinued. I don't have it. I couldn't find it anywhere. But with Sonatina, the good thing is that you have access to many different orchestral instruments, strings, brass, and everything. And each has articulations, the sustain, staccato, pizzicato, whatever. The problem, a few problems. First one is that you cannot trigger the articulations with a key switch like you can with different libraries. For example, with Arc 1 and FL Studio, I can, set my FL Studio in such a way that each MIDI color corresponds to a different articulation. See, this is long notes, and these are staccatos. I can do this because Arc 1 has key switches. With Sonatina, I cannot. So what I would have to do, because of the lack of key switches, is I could open different patches. So I would have to open a French horn, sustain, and then French horn staccato. Or I could do some magic because I know how to use FL Studio well. So I did that by using Patcher, which is this plugin that allows you to pretty much construct a circuit of plugins inside your plugin, which is amazing. And what I did is I opened this VFX color mapper, which allows you to send different, the MIDI signal to different routes depending on the colors. And I said, green color, you send it here to this Sonatina instance. And as for the other color, you send it to the staccato Sonatina. And then they will both be sent to FL Studio. So now, thanks to my patcher, VFX, whatever, now this is staccatos and this is sustains. But that took some work to do, and I had to do it with every single instrument, and it's free time you're giving away like that. Another thing, another difference from professional libraries and Sonatina, whatever, Edirol, is that usually you might not have modulation wheel dynamics going on. So, for example, in this example with Cinematic Strings 2, I have the strings that follow this sort of dynamic wheel. The intensity changes as the notes are being held in my strings ensembles. With Sonatina, normally you don't have that. There's no dynamic wheel links, whatever, so you cannot really do that. So I had to emulate that in some way, and I did that again with Patcher. Used this surface control, and I created this knob. And through different shenanigans with these 2 plugins, I pretty much linked this to the EQ. So now whenever I move the surface knob here, the dynamics, it's gonna first move this low pass filter, so to make my strings a bit more dull, but also it's gonna lower the volume after a certain bit. So now I can use this to kind of have the similar effect. And I did that on every single, string instrument here in Sonatina. So now it's a bit better, but it's not as good as this. Now, as I showed you, I wanted to show you that, these issues can be solved if you know your music production, if you know how real instruments sound like in nature and stuff like that. But you will probably not get as close to getting something that sounds as good as Cinematic Strings 2, Metropolis Arc 1 or something like that. Because again, these are real recordings, and also it's gonna require more work for you to get there. So when you use free stuff, or you use, things that are cheap, that you didn't pay much for, obviously you saved some money, but that means that you compromise the time you're gonna spend composing that music, because it's gonna take you way more time to compose something that sounds great. So doesn't it make more sense to buy something that sounds great out of the box? Because if you think about it, every single track you compose can change your career. every single track you compose can be the one that actually gets you the gig or gets you the placement or gets you audience. Like, so it's best to set your environment in such a way that whenever you sit down and compose, you do it fast and you do it quick and you do it and you get great results, rather than being cheap about, you know, your libraries or being cheap about courses. Like, another thing I don't understand is people who say, I'm never gonna pay for a course. I'd rather, you know, spend all my time looking for free videos on YouTube. And, you know, I take pride in my YouTube page. You know, I think my tutorials are of value, but I also know there's loads of tutorials on YouTube and many are terrible. So, you know, the time you spend looking for great tutorials could be saved if you actually paid for a course from a great source and you learn all of that from the course. You learn a lot, saves you some time, and gets you to the point where you can actually get results faster. So, you know, the biggest ally you can have on your side as a composer is time. So if you can shorten the amount of time it gets you to become great, to write great music and stuff like that, you probably should, because that's gonna make the whole difference. If you set out cheap on yourself, then, well, you're gonna take a long time to get results. And all the people who are not cheap on buying courses, buying, you know, software for composing, and especially the people who are not cheap at spending their own time composing music every day, those people are gonna overthrow you very easily. And at that point, you will not be able to complain saying, oh, I didn't get lucky. No, because actually you didn't do your job. Maybe luck found you. Maybe that day you were particularly inspired. Luck was with you, but you didn't have the library that got you to composing the track in one sitting. Or you didn't have the knowledge because you actually spent too much time playing video games rather than composing music. So, you know, the question is, do you really want to do this for a job? Because if you do, then you need to really start thinking differently. If you're the type of person who's like, I should compose everything with Edirol because it's free, you know? Well, if you're already doing everything you can in your power to actually create awesome stuff, then amazing, keep it up. If you're not, you might want to reconsider. Either reconsider the idea of making this for a living or reconsider the way you're going about it, because investing your time, your money, investing your energy, your concentration into learning, growing, and having the right tools for you is the #1 key, I suppose, to actually start considering doing this for a living. So this was a bit of a rant. I'm gonna send it to every single person who asks me why I don't use Edirol. And I hope it was useful to you. Again, if you want to access the list of freebies, I'm gonna leave it down in the description. Yeah, if you have questions, let me know. If you want to learn more, feel free to check the rest of this channel because it's full of freaking knowledge. But I shouldn't probably even give it away for free because it's too good. So anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in another one when it's time. Bye-bye.